Michael Chandler has finally decided to move on and stop waiting for Conor McGregor. After months of anticipation for a fight that never materialized, the American fighter opted for an exciting rematch against Charles do Bronx, scheduled for UFC 309 in November. In a video on his YouTube channel, Chandler revealed that the desire for revenge is behind this choice. The loss to the Brazilian in 2021, which derailed his dream of becoming UFC champion, still weighs on his mind. And now he's determined to set things right. Charles stole my dream, but on November 16th, I'm going to beat him and claim my spot as the next challenger, Chandler declared with confidence. Chandler also made it clear that, although he still hopes to face McGregor in the future, he no longer needs the Irishman to solidify his legacy in the sport. "I don't need Conor McGregor to be number one," he firmly stated, emphasizing that by defeating Charles, he will be one step closer to the belt or even a future matchup against McGregor. Meanwhile, Charles do Bronx, the Brazilian ranked second in the lightweight division, is preparing for yet another epic battle, seeking to get back on the winning track after his last fight in April. Will this rematch bring Chandler's redemption? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your opinion. After Michael Chandler chose Charles do Bronx for an epic rematch, the featherweight division is also heating up. And the fighter gaining more and more attention is Diego Lopes, who claimed an impressive victory at UFC 306. Just like Chandler, who envisions the top of his division, Diego Lopes isn't just celebrating his win over Brian Ortega. He's already eyeing a strategic spot as the backup fighter for the Ilia Topuria vs. Max Holloway fight at UFC 308. The victory was a milestone in his career, and now he wants to climb even higher. With a solid and calculated performance, Diego Lopes overcame the tough Brian Ortega, making it clear that he's ready for bigger challenges. After the fight, he confidently spoke about his next steps, already aiming to occupy the third position in the featherweight rankings. Lopes wants to seize the moment and prepare for a potential title shot. "If they want me as the backup, I'm ready," the ambitious Brazilian declared. The win over Ortega not only solidified his place in the division, but also opened doors for even greater opportunities. Now we wait to see if the UFC will give him a chance to shine even brighter. After Michael Chandler and Diego Lopes put their names in the spotlight, it's Justin Gaethje's turn to shake up the UFC scene with a list of heavyweight rivals. Known for being one of the most explosive fighters in the Octagon, Gaethje is determined to make a strong comeback after his loss to Max Holloway at UFC 300. In an interview, he made it clear that he already has 4 opponents in mind for his return, including Charles do Bronx and Dustin Poirier, 2 names that have already crossed his path, and the response was quick. Poirier, with whom Gaethje shares an electrifying history, wasted no time accepting the challenge. "You know I accept," he replied excitedly, fueling anticipation for a third showdown between the two. Gaethje, who never leaves a fight without making an impact. After all, he's earned 13 performance bonuses in 13 UFC fights, knows that any of these opponents could deliver the show he's looking for. Besides Poirier and Charles, he also mentioned Dan Hooker and Alexander Volkanovski as possible contenders. The stage is set, and the trilogy against Poirier, who won their first fight and lost in the rematch at UFC 291, could be the next big duel. Will we see the Diamond and Gaethje face off again to settle who comes out on top in this epic rivalry? Expectations are sky high, and the Octagon is ready for another legendary battle. Sean O'Malley, who recently lost his bantamweight title to Dvalishvili at UFC 306, is already being challenged by 3 big names in the division. Henry Cejudo, Petr Yan, and Corey Sandhagen didn't waste any time, publicly throwing out challenges, each seeking a fight with the former champion. Cejudo, always irreverent, called O'Malley O'Methyl and mocked his takedown defense, while Yan, who was defeated by O'Malley in a controversial decision in 2022, wants a rematch to prove his point. Sandhagen, on the other hand, used humor and teased O'Malley with the promise of an explosive showdown that fans are eager to see. Meanwhile, O'Malley has remained calm on social media, expressing his disappointment over the loss, but without losing his sense of humor. The fighter shared videos of himself training and even posted a joke using an emo filter, with "Bring Me to Life" by Evanescence playing in the background. With these challenges on the horizon, Sean O'Malley's return to the Octagon is highly anticipated, as fans eagerly await to see who his next opponent will be. Merab Dvalishvili, after winning the bantamweight title at UFC 306, is already at the center of speculation about who his next opponent will be. While many expect Umar Nurmagomedov, undefeated with an 18-0 record, to be next in line, Dvalishvili seems to have other plans. The Georgian champion, still emotional from his victory, made it clear that he prefers a matchup with former flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo, praising the Brazilian's danger in the challenge he represents. However, Merab left the door open for the UFC to decide, suggesting that Nurmagomedov should face an elite fighter before getting his title shot. On the other hand, Nurmagomedov already considers himself the next challenger and showed confidence, stating that Dvalishvili should not avoid the true contender. The Dagestani, who posted several taunts on his social media, emphasized his respect for Dvalishvili, but reaffirmed that the champion should face the toughest opponents. With the UFC yet to determine the division's future, the bantamweight category promises explosive matchups, as fans eagerly await to see who will challenge the machine next. Brian Ortega, after suffering a devastating loss at UFC 306 to Diego Lopes, had an even more turbulent night when he confronted a fan moments after the fight. The matchup, which marked a possible farewell for Ortega from the featherweight division, was dominated by the Brazilian, who knocked down T-City in the first round and controlled the fight to the end. Ortega, who had hoped to regain the brilliance of his previous performances, found himself powerless against Lopes' technique, losing by unanimous decision in a bout that many expected to be his moment of redemption. Ortega's frustration was evident, leading him to confront a spectator backstage shortly after the fight. Despite the defeat, the fight against Lopes was a rescheduled bout after a canceled meeting at UFC 303, and Ortega had already hinted that it might be his last fight at featherweight. At 33 years old, with a career marked by highs and lows, the fighter is now reflecting on his next steps, while Lopes continues his rise in the division. Fans expected an epic battle, but a clearly shaken Ortega ended up succumbing to Lopes' technical dominance, with Lopes now emerging as one of the most dangerous prospects in the division. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with all the latest UFC news, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new content daily. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next video.